You ever have one of those weeks where it feels like the world's got it out for you, but you keep telling yourself, nah, it can't get any crazier than this? Then, of course, it does. Let me just say, if you've never watched your family barn, something your granddad built with his bare hands, get flattened by bulldozers at 2 in the morning while the whole neighborhood stands around in their pajamas, you probably don't know what true, white-hot rage mixed with disbelief feels like. You know what I mean? That was me, Marcus Holloway, just a regular guy holding down his corner of the world, when the HOA decided my wild prairie grass wasn't up to their precious aesthetic standards. Yeah, that happened. It started with this letter, fancier than a wedding invitation, creamy paper, gold embossing, Meadowbrook Estates HOA, up top like they're the king's court. All official, all cold. They wrote, "Dear property owner," which is HOA speak for "we barely tolerate your existence." And it told me I had 14 days to cut my native prairie grass or face a $500 daily fine. 500 bucks. For grass that's been growing since before half these people knew what a mortgage was. Not my manicured lawn, mind you, but the wildflowers and prairie grass my granddad purposely left when he built this farm back in '52. That stretch along the fence where my late wife Sarah used to walk with our daughter Emma, counting wildflowers, chasing bees, turning every spring into a little adventure. And now, some woman named Victoria Sterling, new HOA president, never met a farm she didn't want bulldozed, thought her neighborhood was entitled to dictate what I did with land that had been in my family for generations. That I tried explaining it to Emma, who's 8 and still thinks kindness can fix anything. "Why would anyone hate wildflowers, Dad?" she said, genuinely puzzled, backpack dangling and hair flying loose. That's the thing about kids, they see the truth right away. And truth was, Meadowbrook Estates wasn't really about community. It was about uniformity, about power, about folks like Victoria making sure every inch of this town looked like a magazine spread, beige, gray, and lifeless. My farm, with its wild edges and ancient barn, was a threat to that illusion. Now, maybe you think I'd just cave, cut the grass, and let it go. But if you knew my granddad, you'd know that wasn't an option. So, I called Jake Morrison, my lawyer and friend since forever, to ask if there was anything legal about all this. He raised an eyebrow, asked a few sharp questions, and started digging. Meanwhile, things got weird, like next-level weird. Late-night texts from Victoria, hoping we can resolve this amicably. Cars parked outside taking pictures. Little survey flags appearing on my fence line like the world's lamest scavenger hunt. I wasn't scared, not yet, but I was annoyed. Then it escalated. Survey stakes, real, professional, expensive, showed up overnight. Not the kind some HOA busybody with a measuring tape could manage. It felt orchestrated. I took photos, pulled up the stakes, and headed to see Jake. He pored over old county records and confirmed what I already suspected. My property wasn't even inside their jurisdiction. There were old, obscure rules about visual buffer zones, but nothing that gave the HOA the right to dictate my grass height. But Jake noticed something in the survey, boundaries that included water rights I'd never even heard about, dating back 90 years. Turns out, any water that flowed to Meadowbrook Estates passed through my land first. That was my ace in the hole. Just took me a minute to realize how valuable it was. Meanwhile, I kept digging, literally and figuratively. Emma found a bundle of old maps and deeds tucked behind a loose board in the barn's treasure room. Hand-drawn lines showing underground tunnels, water paths, and something that looked like a hidden chamber right under the planned resort Victoria was about to build. Jake's eyes lit up when I brought him the documents. "Marcus, you're sitting on a legal gold mine," he said, "and maybe a real one, too." But before I could figure out what that meant, Victoria made her next move. She didn't show up with a compromise. She sent a gift. An 8-week-old golden retriever puppy for Emma, from a friend, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The message was crystal clear. Play ball, or she'd use every weapon, emotional and legal, to get what she wanted. I tried to keep cool. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about grass or even property lines anymore. It was about control. And that was a fight I wasn't going to lose. The night they demolished the barn, I was out of town, Emma's safe with a friend. She called me whispering, "Dad, there's bulldozers at the farm, so many trucks." My security cameras streamed the whole thing to my phone. I watched men in suits waving papers, bulldozers crashing through 3 generations of family memories. By the time I made the 2-hour drive home, all that was left was a heap of splintered wood, Emma sobbing with her puppy, neighbors filming for TikTok, and Victoria smiling like she'd just won a chess match. Yeah, it broke something in me, seeing my daughter cry over lost drawings and my wife's old garden tools. But you know what? That was the moment the tables turned. See, Victoria made a mistake. The demolition revealed something beneath the barn. A sinkhole, a chamber lined with ancient bottles, and the entrance to a network of Prohibition-era tunnels. Diamond Jack McGrady's lost moonshine empire, if the old stories were true. The news spread like wildfire, thanks to a local YouTuber named Dylan Shun who streamed the whole wheat bag operation I started the next morning. Using my legal water rights, I stacked 200 massive grain bags right in the middle of Victoria's $5 million resort project. Legal? Absolutely. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Oh, you bet. As we unloaded, the ground collapsed, revealing that hidden chamber, shelves lined with moonshine, a leather-bound journal, and the sort of historical treasure that draws every reporter in the county. Within days, the feds showed up, archaeologists in tow. Turns out, Diamond Jack hadn't just run moonshine. He'd kept meticulous records, maps, payoffs, names of officials bribed, all stashed in a metal box somewhere beneath our feet. Victoria's lawyers scrambled. Her private investigator had been caught using ground-penetrating radar to map out the tunnels, a federal crime when it comes to protected sites. The county, the state, and even the FBI had a stake now, and Victoria's resort was officially dead in the water, but she wasn't done. In a desperate move, she weaponized the system, calling Child Protective Services, alleging I was putting Emma in danger. For 3 days, my life was dissected by social workers. Emma questioned about everything from our routines to the history of wildflowers. But Emma, she's her mother's daughter. When asked if she wanted to live somewhere safer, she said, "I want to stay with my dad and help find Diamond Jack's treasure. This land is our story." Her words, not mine. By the time we hit court, the media circus had arrived. Dylan livestreamed the hearing, reporters jammed the gallery. And when Victoria tried to hold it together on the stand, the truth came out. Her daughter hadn't died in an accident. She'd taken her own life after being forbidden to study agriculture. Victoria broke down, sobbing, as Emma quietly placed a hand on her arm and whispered, "Your daughter would want you to help other people love farming, not try to make it go away." That's when everyone finally saw this was about loss and pain, not grass.I. In the end, the judge threw out the custody claim, ordered Victoria to pay restitution for the barn, and, thanks to the national attention, our land became a historic site, protected forever. Victoria, once the villain in my story, now spends her weekends helping Emma plan a memorial garden, teaching kids about history and healing. Forgiveness isn't easy, but sometimes the people who hurt us most are just fighting battles we can't see. When we answer cruelty with compassion, we make room for something bigger than justice. A second chance.so. What do you think? Did I go too far, or was it just enough? I want to hear your story, too. Drop a comment below about a time someone tried to take advantage of you or your family and how you fought back. Who knows? Your story might help someone else stand up for what's right. And if you want to hear more about ordinary folks taking on powerful forces and winning, stick around, because the next chapter is always wilder than you think.